These are the trigger events we have: before insert, before update, before delete, after insert, after update, after delete, and after undelete. So now let's go and see the before triggers first, and then we'll work with the after triggers. Okay, so I have student object. I want to create a before trigger on student object. So what is my requirement is, while creating a new student, while creating a new student, if they don't enter any address here, I want to populate some default address here. This is very simple requirement. So while creating a new student, if anyone did not give any address here, then I want to populate some default address in this field. Okay. If address is blank, I want to put some default address here. So how do you write a trigger? So go to developer console. So go to file, new. You got Apex triggers here, right? So you can write Apex trigger from here. And the next one, you can go to the object. So if you go to object, we have a section called triggers. You can write a trigger from object page also. Or you can write it from developer console also. That is up to you. So I'm in developer console. Go to file, new, Apex trigger. My trigger name is trg1 or something, and then I want to write it on which object? I want to write it on student object, right? Yeah, this is the student object, and then click on submit. Right, so trigger trg1 on student object. So it by default it will take before insert. So you can add other events also. You can combine multiple events in a single trigger. Anyway, we got trigger context variables, right? You can separate them by using trigger context variables. Okay. So anyway, I want to perform this before insert only. So let it be like this only. So while inserting, I should take trigger.new, trigger.bold. So while inserting, should I take trigger.new or trigger.bold? So I have to take new only while inserting, or new map. So here I have to take trigger.new only, or new map. So you can take either trigger.new or new map. Both will contain the same data, but map will contain the data in key value pair. Key is the record ID. Okay, so we have to take trigger.new. What is the trigger.new? Trigger.new is the list type. Trigger.new is a list. It will contain the student records which are going to insert. So what student records we are going to insert? Those student records will be taken into trigger.new here. right? So you have to declare one list here, list of student underscore underscore c, stu list equals to trigger.new. So trigger.new is a list. Okay, I'm assigning trigger.new into a student list. And then how we can process the elements from the list? How we can process the elements from the list? For each student in stu list, right? You have to take for each loop and then process the elements from the list. Okay? Or if you don't want to go with the two steps, directly put here trigger.new. So take out this line. Because anyway trigger.new is a list. How do you process the elements from the list? You have to take for each loop. So for each student underscore underscore c, yes, in trigger.new. Yes, trigger.new is a list. I am processing that list elements by using for each loop here. Now I have to check. What I have to check? If s dot address equals to null, then I have to give some default address. This is my requirement. S dot address underscore underscore c equals to California. Right? Go to file and save it. So how it works? So whenever you are inserting a new student record, before inserting student record, it will check whether the student address equals to null or not. If it is null, it will give the address as California. So before insert, that means it is not yet inserted into the database, just before going to insert into the database. So why we have to use the before triggers? What is the purpose to use the before triggers? Validations are field updates, right? So I'm doing now a field update. So what I'm doing now, so
Mahesh,
I'm
so
doing some field update,
the
right? Yeah.
yeah, Mahesh, one question here.
So here, before insert, so before triggers are suitable for field updates and validations. Here I'm doing some field updation. Suppose I'm inserting suppose 200 records from data loader. You can insert a single record or you can insert bulk records at a time, right? We have data loader, so I'm suppose inserting 200 records from data loader. So 200 records will be taken into this trigger.new, right? So one by one record will be processed, and then that address will be updated to California if address equals to null, right? So this is a list type, so it can take one record or multiple records at a time. So we can insert more than one record at a time, right? We have data loader. You can load the data by using data loader. I mean bulk records you can load. Suppose if you are using data loader and inserting 200 records, all those records will be taken into trigger.new because trigger.new is a list, and then all 200 records will be processed by using this for each loop. If you are inserting only one record, that only one record will be taken into this list. So we can have a number of records or even one record in the list, right? So now I have saved it. By default it is activated. So now when it will execute, so whenever you are inserting a new student record, this logic will get executed. You don't need to execute manually, that means there is no execute button or something for this trigger here. You don't need to execute it manually. It will be executed whenever you are performing the DML operation what you have mentioned here. So let's go to student, and then I want to give some details here. Not giving any address. And then save it. So I have saved it, and then I did not give any address while saving it, but now you can see it is populating to California. So how it is populating, because this trigger is firing here, it is checking whether address equal to null or not. Yes, address is null, then it is populating the address as California here. Okay, so if I create a new student record and I'm giving address something like this, and then click on save, so will it be changed to California or not? Click on save.
No.
It won't be changed to California because I have given the condition here. So if address equal to null or not. So if address equal to null, then only it will give the address as California. So address is not equal to null because I have some address. So now this time, it won't give the address equal to California. Just I have given one check here. So if it is satisfying, then it will give address as California. So very simple before trigger, the basic trigger, just changing the address to something if address field is equal to null. Okay, so I want to make it work for updations also. Not only insertions, I want to make it work for updations also. How should I make it work for updations also? We will see. So now I want to update a record. Okay, so let's go and update an existing record. So I'm going to one random record here, and there is no country here and no address. Address is here. I think we have updated all the address field. Any address here? Yeah, there is address here. Address is blank. Just click on edit. So address is blank here. There is no address for this record, student 10, and I want to save. So if I click on save, the address should populate to California here. So click on save, but here it is not populating any address. So my trigger is not working for updations. Right, so my trigger is not working for updation. So I want to make my trigger work for updations also. What I have to do here, it is very clear because it will work for only inserting the records. I want to make it work for updations. Then I have to keep here before update. Before update, right? So before it was not there, this event. Now I have added before update. Go to file and then save it. So now this code will work for before updations also. So let's go to student and click on edit. Edit means you are updating, right? And then I'm not giving any address here. Click on save. So now we can see the address is populated as California. Okay. So now my trigger is working for both the insertions and updations. Both insertions and updations, right? That's good. So, but my requirement is while you're inserting, default address should be populated as California. But while you are updating, I want to populate default address as something like New Jersey. So while inserting, I want to populate default address as California. But while updating, I want to populate the default address as New Jersey. But it is working for both as the same. So while inserting also it is keeping California, while updating also it is keeping California, but I don't want to do like that. So whenever inserting, California is fine, but whenever updating, I want to populate different address. How do I do? So in this case, we have to use the trigger context variables. If trigger dot is insert, if trigger dot is insert, then I want to perform this logic. If trigger dot is update, then I want to perform this logic. What logic? For each student in trigger.new, if s dot address equals to null, then I want to keep s dot address equals to New Jersey. So if
We
I'm
can use else
inserting,
also, right? Here. Yeah, just one information. Can we use else also, right? Here.
yeah, you can use else, but if I keep other events here, so I want to use it for before, delete, and then
Okay, that's fine.
before and delete. So I can use other events also here, something like this in the same trigger. So now here how it does work. So if I'm inserting, this is insert checkbox will be true. We got trigger context variables and we seen how it worked in yesterday's class. So if it is, while you are inserting any record, so is insert will become true and this part will execute. So this part won't execute because while inserting is update will be true, no, it will be false. So if you are updating the record, then is update will become true because we are updating. So is insert will become false here because you are not inserting, you are updating the data. So is update will become true here, sorry, will become true here while you are updating, and then is insert will become false, right? So here exactly how it works. While you are inserting, this part only will execute because we have combined here multiple events. If you want to separate them, so we have to use this trigger context variables. So while inserting, so this part only will execute. While updating, this part only will get execute. So if I go and update any existing record, you can see the address as New Jersey only. So let's go and update an existing record. There is no address here, so click on edit. No address. If I click on save, you should see the address as New Jersey. Now you can see different address while updating. So while creating, the address will be California. While updating, this is the new address. Okay, so you can have one more event here before delete. And then what you want to perform, that you can do it in if trigger dot is delete. Right, you can have one more event like after insert, after update, after delete, after undelete. So if you want to differentiate before and after event, suppose if we put here before insert, before update, and after insert, right? So how do you differentiate before insert and after insert now? You can put all the events into a single trigger, right? So if I put here before insert, after insert, then so this will execute for both, right? Because insert will be true for before insert, after insert. But if you want to make difference here, you have to put here trigger dot is before, and here also trigger dot is before, and okay, that means if it is before trigger and then insert, that means before insert. So if it is a before trigger and then update, so before update. If you want to execute some code after insert, then what you have to, how you have to define here? So trigger dot is after and then trigger dot is insert. Like that you can have multiple events in the same trigger, and you can differentiate by using the trigger context variables. These are the ones, right? Of course, is executing size also the trigger context variables. These are the trigger context variables. Use them and perform a particular task while you are doing a DML operation. Okay, so this is the one of the way how we do. Maybe I'm not doing anything for after insert. Just remove that event here. We can take trigger helper classes. Trigger helper class we can take. That means we can move all the code to an Apex code, and then we are calling that from trigger, right? I'm taking one trigger handler class or helper class. I can say anything. I'm going to define one handler class and then move all this code to a handler class. So go to file, new Apex class. trg1 underscore handler. Okay, let me have one method here. Public void so this is my method name. Okay, so here we need to have the student records, right? So list of student records, and then for each student in stu, if s dot address equals to null, then s dot address equals to something like this, and then let me go with one more method. Before update, and then here this is the other address while you're updating, right? So this is one of the class I have defined here. So let it be static here. Just I'm separating the code from the trigger. The same code I have written in the trigger, right? So there is no difference here. See, if you look at the logic, there is no difference. So here the same line of code, the same lines of code I have written inside the trigger and the handler class. There is no difference. But I'm separating that logic from the trigger. So here, just delete this, and then what is my class name? Trigger one handler dot. What is my method name? Before insert, and then I have to pass the list of students, that is nothing but trigger.new. The same way, I'm deleting the logic from this update event. Okay, so what is my class name? Trigger one handler dot. What is my method name? Before update. Then I have to pass list of students. That list of student is nothing but trigger.new. Trigger.new is a list, right? And it contains all the inserting records. That's it. So now we can look at our trigger. So while you are inserting, while you are doing before insert, then this class method will be called, and then whatever logic you have written in this method, that will be executed. Same while you are doing before updates, so this class method, this method will be called, and then whatever logic you have written in this method, that will be executed, right? So instead of writing all your code into a single trigger, so you can have one handler class, trigger handler class. That is nothing but a class. We are calling like handler class. So you can write whatever code you want, just you can write in a method, and then you can call it from the trigger. Both are same. There is no difference. Just I'm separating the logic into another class. That's it. Right? So if I create one more student without giving any address here, still you can see address as California only. Yes, it is working. It's working fine. I have just place my logic into another class and calling that class method. So both ways will be fine, but this is the best practice. This way will be the best practice. So write our logic into another class and then call that class in our trigger without writing all our code into a single trigger. Okay, that's fine. So I have one more requirement. So here I can see gender field. If you select gender as male, so student name should automatically populate as Mr. Student 23. If I make gender as female here, the student name should automatically become Miss Student 23. Based on the gender, I have to put salutation here, Mr. or Miss. So I want to write a trigger on this. It's very easy, right? So let's go and create a new trigger. Apex file, new Apex trigger. So trg2 on the same object, on student object only. Click on submit. So before insert only. So how do I write it? For each student in trigger.new, because trigger.new is a list type. So we have to process the records by using for loop only, right? So this is the first step. So it is very simple. If s dot gender equals to male, then s dot name equals to s dot name plus s dot name equals to Mr. plus s dot name. Done. If s dot gender underscore c equals to female, then s dot name equals to Miss plus s dot name. That's it. Done with this trigger. So if gender equals to male, then I'm appending Mr. prefixing Mr. Sorry, and then if gender equal to female, I prefix Miss here. Okay. So let's do this. So let me give here. So it is the updations, right? So let's create a new record. So if you want to quickly create a new record, just click on clone. Now let's give gender equals to male. So it is before insert, right? So two triggers will fire definitely, because my first trigger is also on before insert, my second trigger is also on before insert. Of course, these two triggers will fire here. So I put male here. So I'm giving here Nagarjun. So if I give male here, so you can see here once I click on save, so you can see here Mr. Nagarjun. And then address also should become as California here. Because I have two triggers, right? One will change the address and one will change the salutation. So click on save. Now I can see Mr. Nagarjun. Right, so my both triggers working fine. Or instead of writing two triggers, you can write whatever logic you want under a single trigger. Just you can put the same logic here inside, this before insert method. You can check if s dot gender equals to male, then you can do the same here as well instead of writing two triggers. Anyway, the same event, right? As I have written one more trigger for our understanding purpose. So now let me create one more student record. And then let me select gender as female. Then now in this time you can see Miss. Okay, so my trigger is working fine. So let's go to the next one. Okay, I'll give you one example for you guys. Try this. So create here one field called fee. Create here one field called fee. So while you are creating a new student record, suppose if you give fee as 1000, and if you select country as India, so the fee should come down to 900. So for India students, they are giving 10% discount. The fee should be 900 here. It should automatically change to 900. For UK students, they are giving 20% discount. If you select UK here country, then the fee should come down to 800. 20% you have to calculate. What amount you are giving here? 20% you have to deduct from that amount, and then the final fee you should give here. So for Japan students, they are giving 30%. It should come down to 700 if you are selecting here Japan. For USA students, they are giving 50% discount. So if you select USA here, the fee should come down to 500. Right? Based on the country value, you have to calculate the percentage value, percentage from the fee, how much you entered here, and then you deduct that from the actual fee, and then final figure you should display here in the fee field. The very simple trigger, just before trigger, use before event only, before insert or before update. Okay, just before insert, before update, and then just calculate the percentage and deduct that from the actual fee amount. Okay, so let's go to the next one. So let's go to let's go to before delete. So we have just seen before insert and before update. Just let's go and see before delete one, a simple one. Go to file, a new, apex trigger, trigger 3, and student underscore c, submit. So now I want to perform here before delete. Okay, so what is the first line? For each student in trigger.new. Trigger.new is a list. It contains all student records which you are going to insert. Those records, which you are going to delete, those records this list will contain. Here I should use the trigger.new or trigger.old. I should
Old.
use here trigger.new or trigger.old. So go to our document back.
Yeah, that old.
Yeah, you can see while deleting you can use only trigger.old or trigger.old map. Trigger.old or trigger.old map. Okay, so here it is wrong. So I have to use here trigger.old. I have to use here trigger.old. If it is a delete event, we have to use trigger.old only. If not, if you are not using that, you will get an error. So I want to restrict no student records to be deleted. No one should not delete any student record. Or you can put some condition here. So first, I'll give here s dot add error. You cannot delete any student record. Save it. So how it works, whatever records we are deleting, that records will be taken into trigger.world, and then this message will be displayed simply. So whatever records we are deleting, so that records will be taken into trigger.world, one by one record will be processed, and then this error message will be displayed, and we could not delete any student record. Go to this student record, and I'm trying to delete this record. Click on delete button. Are you sure? Okay. So now you can see you cannot delete any student record. We got the validation error while you are deleting the record. Right, so we could not delete any student record until you delete that trigger, until you deactivate that trigger. But we could not do this one by using validation rule. Validation rules will work for only whenever you insert or whenever you update the record only, but not deletions. Or if you want to give any condition, you can give the condition. Suppose country, if country equals to India, those records only you could not delete. Then you can give country equal to India, then only that records you could not delete. Or you can give any other condition, whatever condition you want. You can put that condition, if condition here, and then put add error. So if you want to display any error message, we have a method called add error, so you can use that and then display an error message to user. Okay, so now you could not delete any student record until you deactivate this trigger. So while you are deleting, this error message will be displayed, and we could not even delete any student record. Okay, now let's go to another trigger. Go to file, new Apex trigger. So trigger number 4 on student. So before insert, comma, before update. So for each student in trigger.new. Now I want to check if s dot date of birth, right? S dot dob underscore c equals to null. Then I want to s dot add error date of birth is mandatory. Okay, so while inserting or while updating, so if date of birth is null, then I am throwing this error. Okay, so let's test this one. So click on edit. So date of birth is null here. So click on save button. Now you can see date of birth is mandatory. So until you give date of birth, you could not save any student record. So is it working like validation rule? Mandatory field? Yes. So for making any field as mandatory, you can do that by checking the checkbox while creating that field. While creating date of birth field, there is a checkbox. After that also you can go back, edit, and then you can check that checkbox. Then that field will become mandatory. Or we got validation rules, right? So you can create a validation rule, and then you can make any field as required field, and then you can go to trigger, and then you can make any field as mandatory. But for this simple requirement, I don't need to come to the trigger here. Just if you check that checkbox, that field will become mandatory. Or you can have a validation rule. For this simple requirement, I don't need to come to the trigger, but anyway, we can make any field as mandatory. through trigger also. That means we can validate the data, right? Before triggers, you know what is the use of before triggers? Before, you know, we validated any, record, and we prevent the record to be deleted, and then now we make the data birth field as mandatory. So we are validating the data, and then we are making some field updates, right? You know the use of before triggers, right? So here, if data birth is null, we'll get this error on user interface. You could not you know, save the record until you have given this data birth. Now let's go and give some data birth here, and then click on save. The record should save now. Yeah, it got saved now, right? So really, if your requirement is very huge, and if it cannot be achieved by using a validation or workflow, then you can come to trigger and you can write your own logic. Okay, so now I want to prevent the duplicate ones. I want to prevent the duplicate records. For example, here I have student 23, so two duplicate records are there, right? So here I can see student 18, student 10, student 67 also duplicated. Just I want to prevent duplicate records by using name or by using email address, right? So you can take any field and then, you know, duplicate records you have to prevent. For this I want to write a trigger. Okay. So suppose I want to deactivate these triggers. How can you deactivate these triggers? So whenever you create a trigger, that will be activated by default. I want to deactivate these triggers. So instead of deleting this, you can deactivate it, right? Whenever you want, you can use it back. You can activate it back. So how can I deactivate this trigger? Just go to the object page. Go to the object page, and then you can see trigger section here. So we have created these triggers, right? So far, all are active status. All are in active status. Just click on edit one of the trigger. And then you can see there is a checkbox called is active. Just uncheck the checkbox and then save it. It is deactivated now. Inactive. So trigger 1 is inactive. Okay, I want to go with trigger 2, trigger 3, trigger 4, and then you can see there is a checkbox called is active. Just uncheck those checkboxes. That trigger will be inactive. If you don't want to fire that logic, then you can go and inactive that trigger. The inactive triggers won't fire anymore. Okay, so now I want to prevent duplicate records. Go to file, new apex trigger. So trigger number 5 on which object? On student object, and then click on submit. Okay. So I want to prevent duplicates before insert, comma, before update. So if I take here after insert, after update, what will happen? After insert, after update, no meaning, right? So the record is already being inserted or updated. How we can prevent that time not to create the duplicates? You have to do it before only, right? Before inserting, if they are giving the duplicate data, then we have to prevent them. But after insert, once the record is inserted, after how we can prevent? So before insert, before update only. Okay. For each student in trigger.new, okay. So list of student stu equals to select id comma name from student where name equals to colon s dot name. Just I have written one query here, s dot name. So whatever records you are inserting, I'm taking that s dot name. With this name, any records are existed in my database, in my student table, in my student object. I'm getting those records. So whatever records we are inserting here in trigger.new, so I'm taking that s dot name, that student name, and I'm comparing with that student name. I'm writing a query. If any records are existed with that name, I'm querying those records. And then simple condition here, if stu.size is greater than 0, that means if you have some records in this list, that means there are some existing records with the same name. Then I have to put here s dot add error, duplicate record existed or something, plus stu of 0 dot id plus stu dot stu of 0 dot name. Okay, so I'm printing that student id and name also, the duplicated one. So if this list contains records, if this list contains records, definitely that list size become 1 or 2, something more than 0. Definitely it won't be 0. That's why I have given this condition. If list size is greater than 0, that means this list contains some records, then we have to display this message. We'll see how it works. Go to file and then save it. Okay, go to any record here. I have student 20. I want to create again this student 20 record. Just clone it, and I'm not changing anything here. I'm creating again student 20 record. Click on save. So duplicate record existed. That record ID is something like this, and then the name is student 20. You can go, you can copy this record ID and then paste it here, and then you can see the existing record. Now you could not create duplicates with the same name. Suppose if I take it from student 20201, student 201, now we can click on save. Yeah, it is saving now because there is no 201 record existed in my student object. So now we can save this record. Or if you are trying to create again student 201, now it will give you an error. Okay, so now I'll go with the another way. So integer count equals to select count from student where name equals to colon s dot name, right? Right, so I'm just using this aggregate function and then getting the count. And then if count greater than 0, then I want to display the error message. So control S to save. So what is the error? Student underscore underscore C. So this is st is not available. Just make it something like this. Okay, so this is other way. So I'm getting the count of the records. If any records are matching with my student name, what I'm going to insert with that name, if any records are matching, I'm getting that count to an integer variable, and then if count is greater than 0, then this record, this error will be displayed, and we could not save the record. Let's go to student here, and then now let me clone this record and hit save button. Now you are getting the error because I'm trying to create again the same student 201. Yes, this way also it is working. But is this the correct approach? This is not the correct approach. I don't need to stress you more on this, and you already know why this is not the correct approach. So now I'm inserting 200 records by using data loader. 200 records will be taken into this list trigger.new. Okay, so first record is processing and this query is firing one time. So again this list will iterate, and then again second record will be taken into yes, and then this query will be executed. Third record, third time. Fourth record, fourth time. 100 record, 100th time. So 150 record, 150 time. So how many SOQL queries we can write in a single execution? 100 only we can write. So if it is exceeding 100, then this trigger will give you an exception, limit exception, 101 exception. Too many SOQL query exception, 101 exception. But my code is executing fine while I am doing some operation in this record, because we are inserting only one record. So that one record will be taken into trigger.new, that will be given into yes, and then this query is firing one time only, and then this message is displaying because I'm doing operation on only one record. But what happened if you are going to insert or update bulk records? This code won't work for bulk records. This is not bulkified. This is not a bulkified trigger. It will give you definitely some problem in future. You know how to eliminate the SOQL queries, right? Okay, we'll do that. So let me take one set of string stu names equals to new set of strings for each student in trigger.new. So student names dot add s dot name. So here what I'm doing, just I have taken one set, and then in this set, this is the string type, right? So name is also string type. I'm adding these names to this set. Okay. Now let me query. So list of students, student list equals to select id comma name from student where name in colon st names. Then let me take one map of id comma account, map account equals to new map of id comma account. So for each student in student list, map account dot put s dot id comma yes. Okay. So now for each why I have taken account here, student underscore c. For each student underscore c in trigger dot new, if map account dot get off s dot id not equals to null, then s dot add error duplicate record found. Okay, just look at it. Just look at this part first. So I have declared one set here. To this set I'm adding all the student names, and then based on that set student names I queried all the students, right? So here I have taken one map, and then I'm adding the records with the student ID and student record. I'm adding into the map of ID comma student underscore c. Just the same way, student ID, student record. So I'm processing the records from this student list based on the student names, and then I'm inserting those into the map as key and value pair, because here we got key as a student ID and then value as the student, because we have methods, right? Get method, key set method, values methods, they are very useful. So if you're giving any key, then we'll get the corresponding value, right? So now here I'm checking. So map account dot get of s dot id. So you can use get method. So you can pass any key here, and then we'll get the corresponding value. So get of s dot id means, so we are passing the student ID, and then if it is contains any student record, then we will get that record here. So if it is not equals to null, that means if there is any student existed, then we'll get the error duplicate record found. If it is equal to null, that means there is no records in the map, then the record will be saved. So let's try this. go to ABC record and then clone it or edit it. Yeah, I'm making it as a ABC only, and then click on save. It should not save, right? ABC, click on edit. Now it is firing duplicate record found. Let me try again. So let me insert a record with the same name. Student 23 is there. So click on clone and then save it. It should not save, right? But it is saving. That means something went wrong here. Delete this code. So we are adding name to this set, and then we are getting all the student records here, and then we are pushing student ID comma student record. Map account dot get of s dot id not equals to null. It looks everything good.
But Mahesh, what is happening here? Because we are putting everything into list, but where is the validation?
Here it is validation at line number 17.
But validation, what is it? We are just putting an error message, right? So when should it? Because you are just giving that when the ID is not equal to null.
It is not
But where
id.
are
So
we?
get of s dot id. So that means we'll get the student record here.
No, but I'm just thinking, where are we comparing that? Saying that okay, this is
Here
existing
at
record.
here we are getting here we are comparing line number 16 and 17. So map account dot get of s dot id. Here I have student list, student records. Okay, so now what I want to give here, map account dot get of s dot id. Just put some debug statement and see where it went wrong. Just this is debug statement. Let's go to logs and then clone it again. You should get a log. We are getting null. Here we are getting the problem. But we have given the condition like not equals to null. So there is already one record is existed student 23. That record should come here, right? In this map. Okay, we will do one thing then. So instead of giving the ID here, so better we can give here the name, because before inserting we don't have the ID, right? Because we are performing the insert operation, while it is updating it is working fine, but while inserting it is not, because we don't get the ID before insert. I think that is the reason we are not getting any, I mean, output while you are inserting. But if you are updating, this code will work fine. Okay, just I have given the name instead of the ID here. I change the data type to string here. Just I'm giving the name here. Okay, and then by using the name, we are finding out if there is any record existed in the map or not. So let's go and check it now. Just click on clone again and then save it. Now you can see my code is working fine, and then duplicate record found. That is a problem because we have given ID there. Before insert there won't be any ID, but we are comparing with the ID and it could not find any record in the map with that ID. But while you are updating, that code will fine if you are keeping ID, because while updating you are updating the existing record and then you will get the ID here. But this is the we are doing the operation before insert, so go with the name. Okay, so it could not create any duplicates here. So let's try one more record and then confirm our code is working fine or not. So go to student 19 and then clone it. So student 19 only, click on save. Now you could see that error, duplicate record found. Right, so my code is working fine, and you could not see any DML statements or SOQL statements inside the for loop. Right, so here we are checking how it works. Suppose let's take student 19, right? Let's take only one record, that is called student 19. We will test with this record. So we are adding here start name means student 19. We are adding student 19 to this set. This set contains now student 19. Just work with only one record. So now my ST names contain this student 19 because we are adding that student name to this set. So here STU19 is there in STU names, ST names. So comparing with this STU19, we write one SOQL query, and then in this query we got one, right? We got a record here. Yes, already one STU19 record is there. So I'm processing those records from STU list here and then adding them in a map. Adding them in a map as a student name comma student. That means this is a map. Here I have a start name, and then here I have student record. So start name is what? STU19, and then that student record is here. So now my map contains that student name and then student record. Student name and then student record. Okay, so I'm explaining again the same process one more time. If you miss somewhere, please observe carefully. So here I'm inserting only one record, student 19. That student 19 I'm adding into a set that is called st names here. So st names dot add a start name. I'm adding my student name to this set. So I'm comparing with the set names. That means stu19 is there by st names here. So I'm comparing with that name and I'm querying if any records are existed in my database or not. Yes, there is already one STU19 is there, right? So that record will be written here. So what I'm doing here, I'm pushing that record with the along with the student name and then student record to a map. So map account dot put s dot name comma yes, the student name and the complete student record. So now I'm processing again the trigger dot new records, and then I'm giving here map account dot s get of s dot name. So what record I'm inserting here? STU19 record I'm inserting. So if you are giving key to get method, will get the corresponding value. So get of s dot name. That means here get of student 19. So if you are giving get of student 19, so if is there any value existed with the student 19, then we will get that value. So map account dot get of s dot name. Is there any value existed? Yes. So is not equal to null. Yes, it's not equal to null. Yes, there is value existed for student 19 already. So it is not equal to null, and then we'll get this duplicate record found error. If it is equal to null, that means if there is no record in the map with that name, then the record will be saved. So here we are giving the check. Right? Suppose, let's go to insert a Raja record. So whatever records are inserting, that name will be added into ST names. We are adding that name into ST name. So with that ST names, if the records are existed, I am querying here with Raja. So there are no records are existed for suppose with Raja. Okay. So now here we don't get any records. So I'm processing them. I'm processing them and then adding those records into a map. Here I don't have any records. Here map will be null and null. So here in the map I don't have any records. Here I have null and then here I have null. So now I'm giving map account dot get of s dot name. So map account dot get of Raja. So if there any records are existed, we will get null. And then it won't enter into this for loop, and then the record will be saved. So we are getting null, right? If it is not equal to null, then only this logic will execute. If it is equal to null, it won't execute. So if there are no records found, then it won't go into this if condition. If there is any records are existed, then it will go into this condition. Right? So this way we can eliminate SOQL queries inside the for loop. So if you look at this code, there is no SOQL query inside the for loop. Doesn't matter, if you are inserting 200 records or 1000 records, right, or 2000 records, right, only one SOQL query will be fired here. So this code will work for bulk records. Okay, so now let's go to my record and then give student 190 instead of student 19, then it got saved. Okay, so wherever it is possible, or where not wherever, you should eliminate SOQL queries from inside the for loop. Maybe at the moment you won't get any error because you are not working with the bulk records. In future, whenever you are inserting more than 100 records, if you are keeping SOQL query inside the for loop, then definitely you will get an exception and it will give you the problems that time. And one more thing, so we are always checking the logs from here, right? We have a log panel here, And then checking the logs from here, we have one more place where you can check the logs. You know that place already, but let's go and see here. So go to monitor. Under monitor we have logs. Under logs we have debug logs. Let's go to debug logs here. So you can look at the output, the debug statements from this debug log also. Okay, so here we have to set up the log level. So first we have to set up the user to debug log. Set up the user to debug log. So click on new button here. So I'm giving my user here, and then you can set up the logs for 1 day, and then debug level. Click on new debug level button. Give this name as test, and then save it. Okay, and then click on save. And then now if you run any code, then a log will be generated here also. Go to student, save it, and then here reload the page. Now you can see a log has been created here also. See, a log has been generated here. Just you can click on view here, and then this is a log which is generated. And then you can see debug also, null at line number 15, right? Go to your code and you can look at line number 15. So here we got null, and then record got saved, right? If not equal to null, we'll get the error. So it is null here, and then you can see the same here from the debug log. The same log you can access from our user interface also. First we have to add the user to debug logs. First we have to add the user to debug log, and then you can set up the log level. And the logs valid for 24 hours. After 24 hours, again you have to just change the date or time. So if you look at here, start date this one and end date this one, right? You can set up logs for 24 hours. And then the same log you can see here also. It will be displayed here also. Okay. Thank you everyone.